During Hollywood's golden age, there was a movie actress named Joan Crawford. She was talented and one of the greatest actresses of her time. Joan's star shone brightly for several decades, and she cleverly renewed her image at regular intervals, ensuring that she had one of the longest ever movie careers in Hollywood. Joan Crawford had a special charisma and a great sense of style. Her life was a true rags to riches story of a lowly chorus girl rising to the heights of show business success to rival all the great names of Hollywood. Despite her humble beginnings, she succeeded through sheer talent, great beauty, huge determination, and boundless energy. Over the years, Joan was nominated for Best Actress Oscar on 3 occasions, and she won for her outstanding performance in 1945 in Mildred Pierce. Her remarkable achievements in the movie industry earned her a place among the greatest female stars, as voted by the American Film Institute, where she was ranked at number 10. Joan Crawford's life is a story of hard work, perseverance, and resilience. She faced numerous challenges, but always rose above them with her unwavering spirit. Her life is an inspiration to all who aspire to achieve greatness through determination and talent. Lucille Fay Lesieur was born on March 23, 1905 or 1906, in San Antonio, Texas, though there is some dispute over the exact year. However, it's believed that 1905 is the more likely year of her birth. Unfortunately, she never knew her natural father, as her parents divorced soon after her birth. Joan had an older sister, Daisy, who passed away before she was born, and an older brother, Hal, who briefly became an actor in the 1930s. Joan and Hal were raised by their mother and stepfather, Harry Casson, whom her mother married in 1907. As a child, Joan was known as Billy Casson. Her stepfather owned a vaudeville theater and introduced her to the theatrical world, encouraging her early interest in dancing and acting. Joan showed a great deal of potential, but her dreams were almost shattered when she cut her foot on broken glass while playing with friends in 1912. The injury was severe, requiring 3 operations and causing Joan to be off school for a year and a half. But with her typical determination, she continued to dream of becoming a professional dancer. As soon as she entered her teens, she began to neglect her schooling in favor of practicing for and entering dance competitions, which she frequently won. Joan Crawford's family moved to Kansas City in 1916 after her mother and stepfather split up. Joan had to work as a maid at the Rockingham Academy to pay for her keep and lessons. Life was dull for the vivacious young girl, and after leaving school at the age of 16, she spent several months working in department stores and training to become a phone operator. Feeling unfulfilled in her work, Joan decided to return to her first love, dancing. She auditioned for an agent producer in Chicago and was accepted for chorus line work in revues that traveled along the East Coast. Her charismatic personality and sex appeal made her stand out among the other dancers, and she worked as a chorus line dancer in small, sleazy nightclubs along the Atlantic coast for 2 years. In 1924, New York producer J.J. Schubert spotted Joan's talent and hired her for the chorus of his Broadway production of Innocent Eyes. Her performance caught the attention of Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer agent Harry Rapf, who offered her a screen test. Initially reluctant to take the test, as she wanted to continue her dancing career, Joan was finally persuaded by a friend to give it a try. She passed the screen test with flying colors, and she moved to Hollywood and signed a contract with Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer in 1925. Joan Crawford was originally known as Lucille Lesieur and had acted in 6 films under that name before Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer decided to hold a contest in Photoplay magazine to change her name. The name Joan Crawford was chosen, marking a new beginning for her and the start of her rise to Hollywood stardom. In 1925, she appeared for the first time under her new name in Pretty Ladies and performed in several lighter flapper films over the next 2 years. She was well regarded by Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, especially Louis B. Mayer, and quickly rose through the ranks. In 1928, she had her first major success with Our Dancing Daughters. It changed her career entirely, and from then on she was considered one of Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer's leading actresses. For the next few years, Joan used her image as a typical flapper to great advantage and became an icon of the youthful vitality of the jazz age. In the late 1920s, the introduction of sound in films proved to be a difficult transition for many Hollywood stars. However, this was not the case for Joan Crawford. With her commanding voice, she continued to rise in fame, starring in movies such as Paid in 1930, Dance Fools Dance in 1931, her first movie with Clark Gable, Possessed in 1931, and most importantly, Grand Hotel in 1932. Grand Hotel was a blockbuster success with an all-star cast including Wallace Beery, John, and Lionel Barrymore. This film allowed Crawford to prove herself against one of her main rivals at Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, Greta Garbo, and come out on top. It was a turning point for Crawford's career, propelling her into the rarefied air of Hollywood superstardom. Despite the success of Grand Hotel, Crawford experienced a relative failure with Reign in 1932. However, she was quick to reinvent her image from a flapper to a sophisticated woman, starring in films such as Letty Linton in 1932, Today We Live in 1933, Sadie McKee and Chained in 1934, No More Ladies and I Live My Life in 1935, and The Last of Mrs. Cheney in 1937. In these films, Crawford's characters were often lower-class women who were unlucky in love and sought to better themselves through relationships with rich and powerful men. Once Love on the Run in 1936 with Clark Gable and Mannequin with Spencer Tracy in the following year were both huge hits, Joan Crawford was crowned Queen of the Movies by Life magazine. Her position at the top of the Hollywood hierarchy seemed secure, but she continued to work hard. In 1939, she had another success with The Women, directed by George Cukor, where she held her own with a strong all-female cast. Despite this, her last years with Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer were difficult, and with Strange Cargo and Susan and God in 1940 and A Woman's Face in 1941, she began to feel that Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer was not giving her the roles she wanted. She decided to leave the studio. Immediately, Warner Brothers signed her up, and Joan was about to reinvent herself once more. She was ready to go through a golden period of movie creativity. Joan Crawford's career took another turn when she began to play the role of a middle-aged career woman. She showed her ability to portray the character perfectly in her 1945 movie Mildred Pierce, in which she played a mother. The film was a huge success and earned her the Best Actress Oscar. Joan continued her successful run with the melodramas Humoresque in 1946 and Possessed in 1947, where her performance as a mentally ill woman earned her a second Oscar nomination. However, the supply of good scripts started to dry up, and in 1947 she was loaned out to 20th Century Fox for Daisy Kenyon, where she participated in yet another predictable love triangle with Dana Andrews and Henry Fonda. The following year, there were no suitable scripts, and from 1949 until the end of her contract with Warner Brothers in 1952, there was a series of implausible and disappointing soap operas like Flamingo Road, The Damned Don't Cry, and Goodbye My Fancy. She managed to land one good role in this period, that of Myra Hudson in Sudden Fear in 1952, again earning her a nomination for Best Actress Oscar. However, she was disappointed once again. Joan Crawford's career took a downward turn in 1952 when she was released from her contract with Warner Brothers. As she aged, her films, as did her male co-stars, seemed to weaken. In 1954, in the film Johnny Guitar, Sterling Hayden struggled to hold his own in scenes where he exchanged recriminations with Joan's character. In 1957, Joan played the guardian of a raped girl in The Story of Esther Costello, a role that left her horrified. However, Robert Aldrich Films offered her a reprieve from the dross, and she appeared most successfully in Autumn Leaves in 1956 and Whatever Happens to Baby Jane in 1962 with Bette Davis. Joan later took on more grotesque roles in horror films, often working with director William Castle. These films, including Strait Jacket in 1964, I Saw What You Did in 1965, and Berserk in 1967, did not enhance her reputation in any way. Despite being financially secure, her reasons for taking on these roles remain a mystery. Despite this, Joan remained active in the entertainment industry, turning to television in the 1950s and making around 100 appearances on various shows, including game shows like I've Got a Secret and Zane Grey Theater, as well as cameo appearances on The Tonight Show starring Steve Allen. Unfortunately, the material did not showcase her talents, and she became a campy parody of herself. Joan's final movie appearance was in the 1970 flop Trog, which only further damaged her reputation. In her personal life, Joan was known for her beauty and multiple marriages and affairs, often with her co-stars. Her first marriage was to actor Douglas Fairbanks Jr. in 1929, which ended in divorce in 1933. She then married actor Franchot Tone in 1935, but the marriage also ended in divorce in 1939 after 4 years. Joan Crawford became a mother when she adopted a daughter named Christina in 1940 while still single. She later married actor Philip Terry in 1942, and they adopted a son, but he was eventually returned to his natural mother. The couple then adopted another boy named Philip Terry Jr., but after their divorce in 1946, Joan renamed him Christopher Crawford. In 1947, Joan adopted twin girls, whom she named Cindy and Kathy. Joan's fourth and final marriage was in 1956 to Alfred Still, the chairman of Pepsi-Cola. Joan worked hard on behalf of Pepsi-Cola until her retirement in 1973, after her husband died in 1959. She was elected onto the board of the company following his death. However, Joan struggled with alcoholism in her later years. She died in New York City in May 1977 at the age of 73 from a heart attack while suffering from liver cancer. Her ashes were placed with her fourth husband, Alfred Still, in Ferncliff Cemetery in Hartsdale, New York. Rest in peace, Joan Crawford. Goodbye, legend.